ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I've seen it, and honestly, I can say it's a fairly good movie. Whoa, who am I kidding? Let me start over. It's finally here! My most anticipated movie of the year. That actually rhymed, and I wasn't planning on it, but it did, and it worked out awesome. But oh my god, this movie is so awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I loved every second of every minute of every hour of it. Gah! I've seen it 3 times already, and I've seen it 3 times in 24 hours. I've never done that with pretty much any movie, but I did it with this one, and for good reason. It is single-handedly the best movie-going experience I've ever been a part of. And let me just say something. On December 17th, 2015, at approximately 7:30 p.m. That's the start of the movie, or the start of the movie at 7. 15 minutes or so of trailers, and another 10 to 15 minutes of the opening scenes. I fell in love with the girl. Her name is Daisy, and she's an actress, and she's a really darn good one. Okay, if you guys have seen it, you know why. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out, and then you'll know why. But oh my god. Whew. Okay, now with all that hype out of the way, I can begin to talk civilized about this topic. And before you guys all go calling me crazy for liking this movie way too much and giving it too much credit, and for saying that it's the best movie out there, no. I did not say best movie, I said best movie experience, okay? But, like I said, I really do like this movie, and it probably will prove to be the best, or at least my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, even though I still think, after watching it 3 times, that The Empire Strikes Back is probably the best Star Wars movie. But combined with the great movie it is, with the great experience I had, mash it all together, it's probably going to be my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Like, even, I know we're going to get 2 more episodes, at least, and then, like, X amount of Star Wars movies on top of that. But hey, this one will probably be my favorite of all time. Going into episode 1, I had probably seen 4, 5, and 6 already. I don't really remember, because episode 1 came out when I was like 6. So I think I remember watching the original trilogy before the prequels, but at the same time, going into episode 1, I was excited for it because I knew what Star Wars was. But at the same time, I wasn't as excited as this. Like, I was really excited for 3 more than I was for 1, because you finally get to see the turn of Darth Vader. But no, this one, so long in the making. It's been, let's see, it's 2015. It's been roughly what? 12 years? 10, 12 years since we got our last Star Wars movie, last like live action Star Wars movie. But yeah, oh my gosh. So, best movie going experience I've ever been a part of. And like I said, it will probably be the best my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, whenever the dust settles. I've never really watched a movie that I was looking so much or so forward to, that every reveal, every like action sequence, every new moment, and answers to every question that I had, even though some of my questions didn't get answered, I was so satisfied and happy, and was so relieved to find out and have that come through in the movie. I was like, oh, are they gonna do it? They did it. Yes, woohoo! And I did that so many times. But yeah, so now with all that being said, though, I do pride myself in being honest, objective, and unbiased, as much as I can be unbiased about a Star Wars movie. I mean, I think Star Wars, for me, is the best sci-fi movie ever made, or series of movies ever made. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be unbiased about as much as I can. But like I said, Star Wars is my favorite like movie series ever. So there's that. I'm gonna try to not take that into consideration. Just look at this as a movie. But either way. It's Star Wars. Star Wars, Star Wars. If you guys haven't found out that this is Star Wars The Force Awakens review, then you are, well, I'm not going to insult you. So, yeah, you can say you are and then blank and then fill it in with whatever you want and be happy about it. But yeah, so I'm going to do 2 reviews. I'm going to do this one, which is going to be a spoiler-free review. Mostly. There might be some minor spoilers here and there, but not anything major that you should be really upset about. So I'm going to do 2 reviews. This one, which is my spoiler-free, and then a later one that I will talk about after everybody's. I'm gonna try and stagger this a little bit more of a ways later next week when I think most people or more people have seen it. I saw it the very first showing because I knew if I waited a second longer to see it, the longer I waited to see it, the more people had a chance to spoil it for me, and I just wasn't gonna have that. But yeah. Anyways, I will have to say something though. I didn't hate anything in this movie, but I loved everything I didn't dislike. So I didn't like anything in the movie, and I didn't hate anything in the movie because anything that I liked, I loved. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. And anything I didn't really see fit into the movie, I just didn't see fit in the movie. Didn't necessarily hate it, kind of disliked it maybe, but there's really nothing bad I can say terribly bad about this movie because it is all really good. But yeah, so like I said, this is a spoiler-free video. If you have seen the movie and you want a little bit more in depth of what I'm thinking up in this little crazy noggin of mine, go ahead and check my spoiler review that I'll have in a couple days after this video. But yeah, so before we begin, I'm going to kind of break down how I'm going to explain and talk about this entire movie. I'm going to talk about my general story and feelings. Like I said, it's spoiler free. I'm not going to get too much into what I feel about every aspect of the story because it'll get very much spoiler heavy as we go along. So I'm just going to talk generally about the story and my feelings towards it. I'm going to talk about the characters and the overall film production and quality and composition of it. So yeah, here we go. First, I'm going to talk about the story because you know why? The story is the most important part of almost any movie and definitely every game. If you don't have a good story in a movie, then I'm not going to bother watching it because I can play a weak story mode game and be more entertained by it. But hey, to avoid any major and hard spoilers, I'm just going to briefly run over this. But yeah, we should already know that this movie takes place roughly 30 minutes or so between the end of Return of the... Not 30 minutes. Did I say 30 minutes? I meant 30 years. Crazy. Roughly 30 years. 30 minutes. Oh, Leia and Han have already aged 30 years. That would have been funny. Oh, massive teleportation in time. Hey, it's plausible. It's Star Wars, right? Anyways, 30 years after the end of Return of the Jedi, it's logical to assume Luke's become a more powerful Jedi than he was at the end of 6. Leia and Han were lovebirds and were an item at one point. Probably. And so on and so forth. The Empire fell, and from the ashes and the remnants came the First Order. The Rebellion turned in from the Rebellion to the Resistance. And yeah, and then there's a New Republic, as is also logical to assume. I don't think that was really in any of the in the trailers or anything like that. But if you've been following it around, you know that there's the First Order, and then there's got to be some big thing that combats it. And that is the Republic and the Resistance. But yeah, if you think any of this is spoiler, you're very sensitive to spoiler content because this here is not spoiler material. It's basically I'm gonna basically confirm or deny or any of the rumors that we had in or theories that we had in after watching the trailers. So let's continue on. from the trailers, we gathered that the Force is somewhat more of a mythical type entity, and Luke Skywalker and Han and Leia are not very real people. They're more like legends. They're more like myths and stuff like that. People don't really know what happened 30 years, which is puzzling to me. But hey, whatever works for Lucasfilms right now, because they just crushed this movie. So, as a myth, they think the Force is a myth. Finn and Rey are shocked to hear that it's not. Mark Hamill, even though we haven't really seen much of him in the marketing, we have seen him in a few, like 2-3 photos. And we know he's in the movie. Okay? But I'm not really going to talk much about that. If you want to know what happened to Luke Skywalker, if you're not planning on seeing the movie, or if you have already seen the movie and you want to know what I think about it, check out my spoiler heavy review later on, like I've been plugging here and there everywhere. So yeah, you got that. Moving on, Kylo Ren is the new baddie, and if you don't know that, then you must have been living on a rock and didn't want to watch any of the trailers or just follow the movie at all. That's just one of those things where I think if you're a Star Wars fan, whether or not you've not seen the trailers or followed it, you gotta know that Kylo Ren, you've probably seen or heard from someone that Kylo Ren is the new bad guy in this movie. He also seemingly has an uncanny and unhealthy obsession over Darth Vader. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the story that I can really go into without being very heavy spoiler type. But I'm pretty much going to confirm all that because the trailers show it, and it's pretty much true. If you've gained at least that much from the trailers just by talking about it, or even just watching it, or watching the IGN review videos, or rewind trailers and stuff, you're pretty much, that's all right. Not everything in their rewind trailers is right, by the way, but if you've developed your own theories like that, then yeah, you're right. Kylo Ren does have an obsession with Darth Vader, and it is kind of unhealthy. Luke is not in the trailers or the marketing, for that matter. Rey and Finn really don't know what the Force is and are surprised to hear that it's actually real when they talk to Han about it. And, of course, the original cast returns. I pretty much just confirmed Luke like 3 times in the last 2 minutes. But yeah, Leia, Han, Chewie, Luke, yes. Not really spoiler, because if you watch if you look at the poster, you'll see his name is actually one of the first names listed. So yeah, he's in the movie some way, some shape or form, but I'm not going to tell you unless you watch my other spoiler video, or my spoiler review. R2-D2's back, C-3PO's back, Admiral Akbar's back, all this kind of stuff. And I will tell you this, a minor spoiler, if you freeze the frame, this is all going from the trailers. If you freeze the frame in the scene where Finn and Rey are on what appears to be the Millennium Falcon, or Han seemingly talking to them, if you freeze the frame there, you'll see all these planets and all these things. That's a map, but to whatever else that it's going to, I'm not going to tell you unless you watch the spoiler video. But yeah, overall the story is well written. I really like the story. I like how things progressed throughout the movie. It's probably the best since the original trilogy. The prequel trilogy was really weak in story. I mean, we already knew Darth Vader was going to be or Anakin Skywalker was going to be Darth Vader, and if you haven't seen those movies, spoiler alert. A little too late, but yeah. We already know Anakin Skywalker is going to be Darth Vader by the time we watch the movies. There's not much of a conflict. I mean, Palpatine's in there, the Emperor's in there, but you really think that you know that it's actually going to be Anakin Skywalker's turn to Darth Vader that's driving the entire purpose of the prequel and the prequel trilogy, and that he's technically the villain in all of the movies if you really think about it. even though Palpatine's the one manipulating and egging all this on, and I mean, you have Darth Maul as the villain in one, you have Dooku as the villain in two, and then overall you pretty much got Palpatine / the Emperor and Anakin Skywalker in three. But they present it in such a way, the prequels, that Anakin actually looks like a good guy, but in fact he's a bad guy. You're actually supposed to not like him throughout all of the prequels. But yeah, blah, blah, blah. But pretty much the prequels were only good for the lightsaber battles. I loved them. But yeah, originals were good for story. Anyways, that's enough talk about the story. I think I've rambled on enough. Now we're going to talk about the characters. And there are a lot of new characters. And a lot of good characters. A lot of good new characters. Not very many stupid characters, which I will kind of explain later. But if you didn't like Jar Jar, you don't have to worry. All the original cast is back, like I said. That includes Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Again, just look at the poster. He's there. He might not be on the poster, but his name is, which tells you he has some sort of role. What that role is, again, I'm not going to tell you. Han and Leia are back. I don't remember if Leia's on the poster, but I know Han is. And Chewie's back. Rey and Finn are the new protagonists, and they are great. Like, seriously, they are really, really good. You've already, know my opinion is about Rey. I mean, I'm freaking in love with her right now. Kylo Ren is the new antagonist. Also very, very awesome. There is a Moff Tarkin-like character in General Hux. His relationship with Kylo Ren are very, very similar to Vader's and Moff Tarkin's. Though General Hux seems to be a little bit more violent, hardcore, not really willing to let Kylo Ren do what he wants. There's Supreme Leader Snoke, which, honestly, I will talk about my theory about him right now just a little bit. Not really spoiler or anything like that, but after watching the movie 3 times, I do think he might be Plagueis. Darth Plagueis, Sidious's master. I think. I still kind of doubt it, and I was doubting it a lot more before I watched the movie, because I just don't have that kind of faith and confidence that Lucasfilm would actually make a story that kind of wove them all together, that kind of made that happen. I don't think they're good enough, or I didn't think they were good enough to make that happen, to actually let that happen. I actually do think that would be a really cool, interesting plot twist that Snoke will be Plagueis. I still don't think it'll happen, but I think it's more likely that it's going to happen now than I did before I watched it. And like I said, not really a spoiler. It's neither confirmed nor denied in the movie. We actually don't really know who Snoke is. After watching the movie 3 times, I still don't know. It's like, whoa, you're just there, man. It's kind of like what the Emperor is whenever you first see him in Episode 5. If you've never seen the movies, he just appears like, oh, there's actually some guy driving Darth Vader. Who knew? So that's basically what you get from here. Captain Phasma, it's kind of like our new Boba Fett character, but she's really underplayed, unfortunately. She's not as cool as Boba Fett, and I was not a very big fan of Boba Fett to begin with. So yeah. Then there is Poe freaking Dameron and his counterpart BB freaking 8. That duo was just awesome. Like, I am not kidding. That duo was fantastic. Let's just take this time to thank Disney for doing such a great job on this movie and giving us another droid to love like we do R2. Because I'm just in love with that little BB-8 droid. So now I got to talk to you about my favorite characters. My favorite characters introduced that are not droids, because I just told you BB-8 was my favorite character, period, of the new movie. You'll get the reference whenever you watch the movie. Don't worry. But yeah, my favorite non-droid characters in the movie are definitely Kylo Ren first. He's my number one. And I know I said I love Daisy Ridley, or at least Daisy for being Rey, but Rey's honestly my second favorite character, simply because of this. I think Kylo Ren is a more interesting character. I mean, I really like. I'm not saying Rey's not interesting. She is beyond interesting. I think she's got very big potential. But we found out more about Kylo Ren than we did of Rey. But yeah, Kylo Ren is the bad guy I wanted to see in The Force Awakens. He's the type of bad guy I wanted to see. I knew there was going to be another Sith. I was hoping he wasn't going to. Because being a Sith and a dark side user and being on the dark side, there's two ways I think to handle it. There's the Vader way, where you're calm, collected, just have all this rage and anger inside you, but you're controlling it. And then there's the Kylo Ren way of doing it, where you're pissed off all the time at yourself, at the world, or whatever the case may be, and you can't control it, you don't control it, and you're not afraid to let go at any time. That's what I wanted to see from Kylo Ren, and that's what I got, and that's why he's more of my favorite character. He's angry and he's mean, and he's unbalanced, just like Adam Driver said. Adam Driver really hit the nail on the head there. Wow. He said something along the lines that Kylo Ren's lightsaber is kind of like a true extension of his character, because if you've seen the trailers, or even if you've seen the movie and you're just watching this just to see what I think, just general on the surface, he says in a prior to the movie, an interview he did prior to the movie being released, that the lightsaber being unbalanced and unfluctuating, making it seem like it could not work at any given time, really was an extension of his character, because it was unstable, just like the character. It was chaotic, just like the character. I mean, truer words were never spoken about a character, in my opinion, prior to the release. I was like, how much of a extension can that lightsaber really be of a character's person? A lot. Seriously, a lot. Okay, truer words were never spoken. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, now getting off the lightsaber issue. Throughout the entire movie, Kylo Ren is merciless. He's heartless. He's cold. He's just angry. You don't really know at what. You think that it's more about himself. He's angry at himself, that he's not aspiring to be as much like Vader as he wants to be. Not spoiling anything. But that's about as much as I'll say about that part of it. He has these mental breakdowns and blow-ups and temper tantrums that I was glad to see from a dark side user. I was like, when are we going to have a dark side user that's going to literally use his anger in such a way that he's just wants to destroy everything? And that's Kylo Ren. There's a scene that's very, very reminiscent of the original trilogy, where you have this guy, very minor character, come up to him and gives him bad news. And and in the original trilogy, Darth Vader pretty much just chokes this guy to death and turns to the next guy and be like, hey, don't screw up. Kylo Ren, on the other hand, literally scares the crap out of this guy. And he's like, the guy delivers the bad news. Kylo Ren literally lights up his lightsaber, pissed off, takes everything out, not on the guy. He does not kill the guy that we know of, on screen at least. He immediately takes out his lightsaber, lights it up, and destroys the very expensive computer equipment in front of him. And then it's only after that where the guy continues with the bad news and is like, and blah, blah, blah. And then Kylo Ren just turns around and just force grips the guy's guy and brings him to him and literally chokes him. Whether he kills the guy or not, I don't know. We don't. I think we see him later on in the movie, but I'm not sure. It looks like him, but it could not be. But yeah, it's just he takes out his anger with his lightsaber first. Like he does this a couple times in the movie, and it's just one of those things. It's like, this guy is awesome. He's really pissed. He's really evil. And all that kind of stuff. His sophistication might not be as evil, but he definitely is evil. He really doesn't want to be good. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, we've never really seen a villain or a dark side user do this. The closest really we got was Anakin Skywalker after Shmi dies in episode 2, and he takes out all of his anger on the Tusken Raider camp in episode 2 and just kills them all. That's the closest thing we get, in my opinion. I don't think I've ever seen anything else like Kylo Ren's temper tantrum blow-ups. But even then, Anakin Skywalker was getting immediate revenge on the people who had done him wrong. Kylo Ren's just like, I'm just gonna trash whatever's in front of me, and if it happens to be a guy or a person, then fine. But there's a bunch of things in here that I just go to town on, and there's a lot. He just does it on inanimate objects. He just destroys them, and then he's like, I feel better now. But yeah, that's one of my favorite reasons, or that's one of my reasons for liking Kylo Ren as much as I do. Now, because Rey is my second favorite character, I must talk about her a little bit. Man, was she a star. Daisy Ridley, oh my gosh. It's like Keira Knightley aged 10 to 15 years younger. Like, I love Keira Knightley. She's one of my favorite actresses, but if this keeps up, she's going to have to make way for Daisy Ridley, because so many angles, so many shots reminded me of what Keira Knightley would do. I was like, oh my gosh, she looks so much like Keira Knightley at this angle. Or, oh my gosh, that facial expression was like exactly what Keira Knightley would do. And like I said, Keira Knightley's absolute one of my favorite actresses, maybe my favorite. It's a hard battle between her and Natalie Portman, I would say. But yeah, I know Daisy really doesn't really like being referenced or not referenced, compared to Keira Knightley. But I'm just saying, there's a part where she gets really excited in the movie, and I'm like, that looks like a very excited Keira Knightley face. Like, am I looking at Daisy Ridley or am I looking at Keira Knightley? But yeah, who knows? Maybe it was Keira Knightley in some scenes, because, I mean, Keira Knightley's played in a Star Wars movie before. But yeah, just kidding. Now, off that rant, back to Rey's character. She obviously has parallels to other Star Wars characters. Most notably and obviously, it's Kylo Ren. Not really going to tell you why she parallels them or whatever, other than look at the poster. It's obvious that they're going to parallel each other. Duh. But in my opinion, she really does parallel Luke Skywalker more, and I won't tell you why in this one, but I will tell you why in the spoiler review. It's just, I'm just saying. But yeah, like I said, I'll talk more about it in the spoiler review. And then now that we're done talking about characters and story, it's time to talk about the overall production of the movie. I believe a few of the best shots in the entire series of Star Wars movies was in this movie. It was just that good. Like, there were shots like you see in the trailer, those TIE fighters coming coming towards the camera with the sun in the background. That was an amazing shot. One of the best shots in the entire series of movies. I don't think there's really been any other series of movies like that or shots like that in this series. And then for sure, later on in the movie, there's what I would consider the best shot ever in almost any movie, let alone a Star Wars movie. This shot was just incredible. I can't really explain it to you because it's gonna be a spoiler if I do. But in the spoiler review, I will talk about it. There were no stupid characters, like I said earlier. So no Jar Jar, no Ewoks. Although I didn't think the Ewoks were all that bad. I didn't even think Jar Jar was all that bad. But he didn't need to be in all three of the prequels. He was barely in 3. He was barely in 2. He was in 1 too much. I mean, I know it. You know it. Let's move on. He was there for comedy, which is what he did half the time, but he did stupid comedy, and I'm not a big fan of stupid comedy. J.J. Abrams, though, has always done a great job of telling a story and composing shots in a way that tell a story, not by simply just using dialogue, but with the type of camera he uses, with the type of shot he uses, the type of movements that he makes the cameras do, the cuts he makes. It's just great. I mean, he knows how to tell a story through the use of a camera. And I love it. It's just so much better than, honestly, George Lucas, I thank you for bringing me Star Wars. But J.J. Abrams schooled you on that one, bro. I mean, gosh. Another thing that I think this one was really good at was bringing back the practical effects and less CGI. I think that was a big fallout a big reason why the prequels were not as good. They stopped using more practical effects and started using more special effects, computer generated stuff, which gave the actors nothing to immediately react to. I mean, at least in The Force Awakens, in the original trilogy, they had an actual droid. They had a real BB-8 droid for all of the characters to interact with. They felt the earth shake a little, maybe, when there was a big explosion. Every time that there was an explosion, they felt it more than likely if they were using practical effects, and they acted and reacted accordingly. And that is why I think this movie is so good. One of the reasons. Like I said, they were actually looking at a BB-8 droid. They were actually looking at a couple of other elements, and they were looking and they were feeling the heat, the intensity of explosion. So I mean, if you're actually next to an explosion, it's hard not to react to it. If you're not next to the explosion, you're just gonna look blankly at it and react how you think you would react, which may or may not be how you would really react to it. There's a lot of reacting in that sentence, I know. But hey, you get where I'm going. But yeah, I mean, overall, film quality, production, acting, all perfect. But that's pretty much it. I'll talk a little bit of the negative stuff because, as I said, not everything in this movie is perfect. There are some issues. There are some there are a little bit there are some minor minuscule things that could be fixed, that could have been better. But overall it was just really good. But I will tell you some of the things I didn't like because like I said, I'm an objective guy. I'm unbiased. Even though it is Star Wars, I'm unbiased. It's just another movie, right? Yeah, not really. But yeah. One of them, I'm not gonna mention a lot of them. There's one big thing that I didn't like, and it's too spoilery to actually talk about it, so I'm not going to. Just watch my spoiler review to really find out what it is. But yeah, the first thing I have to say is, even though I am glad that they did refer back to the original movies quite a bit, in the prequels quite a bit, I don't like that they use pretty much the exact same plot. Sorry, you've already told this story. You kind of told it. You kind of told it three times now, 2 times already, and you're just beating a dead horse or whatever animal you want to put in place of that. It's like literally, Episode 4 had a Death Star. Episode 6 had a Death Star. You're really going to make another Death Star type weapon and put it in to the movie? It's like we've had that 2 times already. Now you're making it a 3rd time. Stop it. Get something else. But that being said, I am glad that they brought back the original character types. Like you had Kylo Ren, pretty much as Darth Vader. You had General Hux as Moff Tarkin, like I said, and Snoke as the Emperor. Snoke. I mean, I like that dynamic and the reaction of those characters together. It's just really good. Another thing that I didn't really care about in the movie, I'm gonna rephrase that because it's good. It was good. The music in this movie was good. I'm not saying. I mean, John Williams is an amazing, whatever you call the composer. There we go. He's an amazing composer by all means. I'm not saying his work is bad, but in this movie, I thought it was a little bit weaker than the others. There's not really one theme that you can literally be like, take out of the movie, listen to it, and feel that emotion away from watching the movie. In episode 1, you had the Duel of Fates. You can literally pluck that out of the movie, listen to it by itself, and feel the emotion that part of the movie instilled in you while you were watching it. As a matter of fact, as many times as I watched episode 1, I could literally envision in my mind where they were at in the fights when they were during certain points of the track. Episode 3 gave us the Battle of Heroes. You felt the emotion that Anakin and Obi-Wan were fighting around, and you felt you could see the action pretty much happening in front of you if you had seen the movie enough. Like, oh, this is what happens, or this is what's happening. It's all this emotion that you can get by just listening to the track and not having to watch the movie. The original trilogy, obviously, the Imperial March, Darth Vader's theme. I mean, what more can you ask? That track, just take it out. You could just use that in every Star Wars movie for all I'm concerned. But yeah, one of my best friends, Cyborg Centaur. If you haven't heard of him or if you haven't checked him out, go ahead and check him out. He's on YouTube. He's on Twitch a lot more. But he's gonna be doing a review of the Force Awakens as well. He pointed out a very important aspect. He brought out a very important thing right after he saw the movie. He was like, the mark of a true movie or a really good movie is if you take all the music out of it, would you still understand it? And his opinion and my opinion are both, yeah, we completely understand it. But at the same time, there was not one theme that you could take out. I mean, Rey's theme was the most noticeable one. Whenever you're first introduced to her, there's this very distinct, beat, this melody, this track in the background. But it's only there for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds at the most, okay? And it's not a track that you can literally pluck out and be like, oh, that's Rey's theme. I mean, Han, Leia's theme was in the movie and all that kind of stuff, but that wasn't the original, the original movie. That was in the original trilogy, but it wasn't an original track made for the movie this time around. So and then one more thing that I have to point out before actually finishing this up is I didn't like the marketing. I mean, I'm glad that they gave us trailers and that they were always releasing like a new like TV spot. I think that kind of got a little annoying at some point because I was like, no, you're gonna ruin the movie. No, literally, you could literally announce, Disney could have literally announced, hey, we're making more Star Wars movie. The first one's coming December 7th or 18th, 2015. Here's a trailer. A year later, give us another trailer. Hey, you're on your own. Get tickets now. And it would still rake in as much money as it did this year, like did so far. But at the same time, one of my biggest pet peeves about trailers is that they use footage that they don't necessarily use in the movie, which I'm okay with to a point, but not when it's that many clips that often. Like, there was a scene where in the trailers that Kylo Ren literally takes out his lightsaber, lights it up in the forest, and that's like a really cool scene, but you don't have that in the actual movie. why not? I mean, now we do see him ignite his lightsaber at a different part in the movie, but it's not as cool, in my opinion. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, lighting his lightsaber where the main blade goes out and then the 2 side blades comes out, that's cool. No matter what you say, that is cool. But at the same time, that shot that they had shown in the trailers is not in there. There are a couple other shots, like the one where Leia is apparently getting Luke's lightsaber, which is actually Anakin's, but whatever. She's actually getting Luke's lightsaber from this other character. That never happens in the movie. Why put that in the trailer if that doesn't happen in the movie? So, I mean, there's just I'm nitpicking at it now, but you get the idea. But yeah, that's everything else that I have an issue with. I'll explain a little bit more in my spoiler review. Don't worry, I'm going to try and not make it as long as this one is. But at the same time, it's going to be quite lengthy because it's going to be a debate. It's going to be a very fleshed out what I think about this movie in like a hard terms of it. But yeah, all in all, this movie is definitely a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. And so because of that, I can't really decide if it's a 9 or 9.5. So I'm just going to make it a 9.25, right in the middle. It's darn near perfect for a Star Wars fan, a diehard Star Wars fan like myself. And like I said, one of the best movie experiences I've ever been a part of. I can't wait for Rogue One, and I really, really cannot wait for Episode 8. And I'm just saying, Lucasfilms, thank you for letting me let you take all my money. Like, or you're welcome for that. You're literally telling me to give you all my money, and I'm doing it willingly. You're welcome. All right, you got all my money, so stop it. But yeah, Rogue One and Episode 8, I cannot wait for. I'm a little disappointed that we have to wait at least another year and a half. But hey, you know what? Diehard Star Wars fans can wait. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you watch the movie and then come back from my spoiler review. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, or until my next video, whether it's more Assassin's Creed or my spoiler review, adios, peace, until next time.